Hi there. We are back again with one more interesting case study on generative AI. Hi, Ravi sir. How are you?
Hey, hi Gayatri. How are you?
Good, sir. So, today I have a couple of questions that I want to kind of start off with. So, when we say analytics, okay, what are the different kinds of analytics right now that we should look at?
Let me explain this with an example. So, obviously, you must have heard a lot of names like visualization or descriptive analytics,
Right.
followed by predictive analytics, then prescriptive analytics or optimization, and then the new age form of analytics, which is probably also referred as Genai or generative AI. So these are some forms of thing, but they work independently as well as they work in different permutations and combinations. Now let me explain it to you in the terms of an example. So assuming you have some illness, probably a knee is paining, you go to a doctor and then he takes your X-ray, and what comes out of that X-ray is a simple X-ray image, which
Right.
basically tells if
What
it's a
what is the
fracture,
problem or issue in
what
the
is the
knee
problem? So
that
this
only
is
a doctor can actually understand? Right.
yes. So it is
Right.
purely descriptive analytics. That means it describes what is the current state of your illness.
Okay. Okay.
Now you take this report to the doctor, and the doctor says, "Ki you have probably a minor fracture, but you also have some kind of an aging effect, which probably will worsen with some point of time, and 3 months down the line, you are likely to probably have some inflammation if you continue doing it like this without medication." So this is what I would call as predictive analytics.
Okay. Okay.
So one
Uh,
was the current state of your knee. The second one is predictive, which is what it will be 3 months down the line if you continue the way you are doing. Then comes the prescriptive. So let's take the same analogy. Now the doctor prescribes some medicine for you.
right.
If you take these three medicines, three pills, 2 times a day, this illness or this will reduce to like 90%. The risk of that inflammation will reduce to 90%. And this is what is prescriptive
So to
analytics.
cut you there, I'm able to understand it from a doctor's perspective. But now, how do we actually connect it from a technical perspective?
Okay. So now the same analogy, you can take it from a perspective of a business. So assuming you have a sales organization which is into selling something. Now on say today's date, if the CEO wants to know what is his current planned versus actuals, that means he was supposed to sell X quantity and he sold like X minus 10 or X minus 5, whatever it is, or X plus
Right.
5.
Absolutely.
This
Okay.
is descriptive analytics.
I get it. Right. So what do
Current
we have
state.
today in store?
Exactly. Now this CEO also wants to know, if I continue the way I'm doing right now, what is my expected achievement 3 months down the line? That would be forecasting or predictive analytics. I can render the same thing through visualization, through some dashboards or this thing. So technology may change. It could be a simple scatter plot or a line graph to show that. But that is what is predictive analytics. Continuing the way I'm doing for the next 3 months, can you forecast what will happen? What will be my achievement? That is
Right.
predictive. Now
So,
coming to
sir,
prescriptive. Yeah, yeah.
what do we have today as a case study that you're going to show us, and how organizations can benefit out of this kind of a case study?
Okay, so this is a classic case of visualization. This is a bundle that we are talking about right now. This is a use case for offshore drilling, in which what happens is when you're drilling a well, say 20,000 feet below the sea level, you encounter some events, non-productive events, which in which case you will lose some money. And when I say some money, means the cost of drilling is around $2 million per day. And if you lose a day of drilling, it is you lose $2 million down the line. Now, what are the kind of analytics or what are the kind of events that are likely to happen? One of the main events that happens over here is the stuck pipe. So here what we are doing is we are using descriptive analytics, predictive analytics, okay, and probably not prescriptive, but we are also using generative AI over here in this scenario.
Okay. Sir, before we get into the actual case study, how is generative AI actually different from predictive? Because I think predictive also predicts and generative AI generates the analytics out of a business use case, right? So how are they both different from each other, and how they can be, collaborated together to kind of get into some conclusion? So
So, generative AI as it is today, okay, now it is evolving very fast. It's very difficult to comment whether it will replace predictive or whether it will lay parallel to the current predictive analytics which is there. My gut feeling tells me they will both remain. Generative AI is more focused on probably taking a set of events which is happening today and trying to generate something out of that. So probably it will use some generic algorithms, some generic prompt engineering practices, and try to predict an event, which eventually even predictive analytics does it. But those predictive analytics that we are talking about are highly specialized. So if I take a business domain like drilling over here, so you'll have to
okay.
use specialized uh, uh, analytical models or predictive models catering to pure drilling. So there is a lot of subject matter expertise that goes in building those kinds of predictive models. While the generative AI models also use predictive algorithms, but they are, at least today, catering to some generic use cases or generic scenarios. They are not designed for specialized use cases or industry scenarios. I hope
Okay. So
I have answered. Yeah.
what kind of, yes, sir, yes, sir, I got it. What kind of data models or probably data lakehouse is required for this kind of predictive, also for generative?
See, predictive would typically need, uh, I would say, structured data. So you need to have maintain high quality of input data. So you have to typically follow some kind of a data cleansing, data conditioning before you feed the data into your predictive model, which is I'm talking about the specialized predictive model catering to certain business scenarios. Whereas Gen AI is more versatile. It can ingest structured as well as unstructured data. Again, I will definitely say that the quality of data has to be good, because if you put in junk, you will get junk out, whether it's structured or unstructured. So you have to really ensure the input data, which is the raw data going into the any form of analytics, is of a decent quality. And in both cases, you have to train the model appropriately using some training data. And in case of generative AI, you have to use some kind of prompt engineering to ensure that the answers you get meet the business requirements through some kind of a training of the models.
Okay, interesting. So let's get into the case study, sir.
Okay, so I hope you can see my screen.
Yes.
So this is that business use case wherein this is an event called a stuck pipe, which whenever it happens, you easily lose around $2 to $3 million per day, not to mention loss of production because of this delay. And in rare circumstances you may have to redo a big part of the drilling, so which might be much bigger.
Absolutely, because when the drilling is happening, especially in the middle of the sea or probably somewhere, there'll be a lot
Hmm.
of drastic weather conditions and all that. So I think there are a lot of different circumstances that come into picture when, especially this kind of event occurs, right? So yes, sir.
So in the interest of time, what I've done is I've just created a few more tabs, and this is the architecture of that drilling advisor. So this
Perfect.
is what we have named it as a drilling advisor, Netra for drilling. So this is working like an assistant. This is powered by a set of IBM technologies, including Cloud Pak for Data and Watson X.AI. Now, what it typically does is ingest data from different structured and unstructured data, condition cleans it, and keeps it ready for predictive maintenance as well as for generative AI. So this is the architecture of it. And in terms of generative AI, it typically takes data from the different SOPs and daily reports which are generated as part of drilling, and tries to summarize them or extract information out of those reports and SOPs. In terms of the structured data, which is predictive analytics, visualization, it takes the structured data, which is the well drilling data, and tries to make some insights out of it. So I'll get into
Right.
probably the first step, which is, I would say, a bit of data conditioning. So here what happens is there is a set in any well, there are n number of contractors doing their work, and they are generating their own data from their own set of equipment. And this is a common phenomenon across industry. So you will, if you actually take manufacturing, you will have different OEMs like say in this case it is Schlumberger, Baker Hughes, Comspec. You may also have Honeywells and so on. They will all generate their own data from their own equipment. And what you need to do is you need to standardize it. So in this case, there is some well data from different units, and I'm basically in the interest of I'm just taking the raw data. So assuming I'm getting the data from Baker Hughes system, so this is my Baker Hughes BH data, and this is some data, and I'm standing. So the only thing that you probably can see is this data is coming in from Baker Hughes. I've only illustrated an example of it. I'm not modifying the data. I can also have data coming in different units of measurement. So I may have to do that computation and performance and bring it in that standard format. Now I will standardize it, and what it will have, it will do is basically standardize it into a thing. So it is basically coming from this, but now the vendor is everything is standard as to COP. So COP is a standard. So the all the labels have been standardized to this. So to SPM underscore COP, SPPA underscore COP. So they have
Okay.
basically standardized the column names. So you can pick and choose what you want to do. You can
Right.
modify the values. You can convert the unit of measurement. But this is an example of parameter standardization. This is small, subtle, but very, very critical. Now I'll go to the next one. So this is a classic example. So we did a bit of data conditioning. Now I'm taking you uh, into descriptive or visualization. So now what we have here is a set of dashboards and graphs related to drilling. Now this actually is a scenario wherein the live data from the well is coming in. Now I can definitely see what is the latest one, but I can also do a date selection. That means so 13th of the month or 14th of the month, I can select, and accordingly my data would filter out, and this would come in. Now what you see over here is a stuck category risk. So typically this is highlighting.
So, so generative AI is able to build these dashboards on the
No,
fly as
this
soon
is
as.
pure no, this is pure visualization or descriptive analytics. So I'll come to Genai. So if you want me to go to Genai, but I thought this would be, let's go
Yes, yes. That, let's go with the flow, sir. No issues. Yeah.
okay. So here what I'm actually showing is pure visualization. That means I'm taking the data from the well. I did some conditioning over here. Okay, data standardization, cleansing, and so on. Then I'm feeding it into my dashboards, which will give me my descriptive analytics. So
Right.
this is the
Right.
same analogy of that X-ray. So I'm knowing
Correct.
what is
Correct.
happening in my process right now. So
Absolutely correct.
there is a risk of 41% of stuck pipe, and
Okay.
confidence based on the data is around 62%. So this is what is the summary, and at an individual parameter. So I know which are the parameters I need to track as part of my drilling activity, and which is I'm doing it and this thing. So I'm now saying, say what is happening on in the second half of 14th. So it is refreshing the graph and replotting these graphs. So it is basically doing all that. I
Okay.
can
Now I
also
this
pick,
is okay. More. Right.
and then I can also change what kind of parameters I want to see. So instead of say BPOS, I want to say SPPA PSI. So it will basically refresh the second graph from BPOS to SPPA. Okay. So
Right.
you can pick and choose. So what descriptive analytics again does is it just gives you the as a status, but a very rich information which you can configure, tune and see. But all said and done, it will only give you some information which is sometimes difficult to understand. Okay. Now we'll go to the next part, which is the predictive part. I mean, here probably there's a bit of prediction also. I mean, I missed that. So here, based on this data which is coming in, these
Okay.
dialers, what you're seeing is this risk. This is a predictive attribute. That means looking at these 6 or 7 parameters, which is SPPA, hook load, depth measured, rate of penetration, dogleg angle, I'm doing some kind of a prediction which is calculating my overall risk of stuck pipe.
Risk and the confidence level. Right. Got it. Yeah.
Confidence. So this is my predictive part. But these are all my descriptive part, which is probably I can see something is happening. Okay, this is my depth, and as I'm drilling deep and deep, I'm going in from say 12,500 feet to I'm going to 13,500 feet below the sea level. So as I'm going up and down, I'm seeing some patterns of data. But what that actually means in a more business centric meaning is stuck category risk is going up to 48.5%. This is predictive modeling.
Right, sir.
Okay, so I've used a predictive model over here. I could use neural networks or anything. I can do the prediction and come up with this kind of a figure, which is 48.5. So anything beyond 50% is something I need to highlight and start looking at more closely. Okay,
Correct.
and when it goes beyond 70%, then it's a very close call for that thing happening. Okay, so this is predictive, while this is all visualization or descriptive analytics at the bottom.
Right, sir.
Now, coming to Gen AI.
So this is the actual thing on Gen AI, the summarization part.
Yes. So what I'm doing
Okay.
over here is this is my one of my daily drilling reports. So this is something which my drillers
Right.
prepare on a daily basis. So 3 page or 4 page somewhere, which is about what has happened in that particular day. Now, what my DDR summarizer is doing is I
Okay.
have trained my model depending on the persona as to what has happened in this. So if somebody from say drilling operations looks at this report, he does not need to look at the entire report. Based on
He
my
just needs
training,
to
I
look
have
at the summary of the report.
summary. So what has actually happened in the day? So in the past 24 hours, I have run 9.5 inch, 8-inch casing. Casing is something like a coating. I mean, it's a covering to protect my drilling. That means once I have done the drilling, I will put some kind of a pipe around it so that the water does not flow into it, and I will basically cement it so that structure can last. So that the hole which I have created in the subsurface remains intact, and when the actual oil flows out, that casing will support that entire oil well, and the water will, and the water will not gush into that well bore. So this is what has happened on that particular day, and then also it also gives a summary of what is expected in the next to happen in the next 24 hours. And this is again like what happened when the drilling started at 6 a.m. on 25/5/2013. uh, this is some of those depth and other parameters from that drilling. Again, it was
Right.
an 8.5 inch well bore. So this is a summary of the drilling. Now if I take it, I mean, let's say let's go to the next one. Now this is again Genai, but here it is more with respect to uh, I have a set of SOPs, and
Okay.
which is huge, long, hundreds of pages, and I don't know which section to look, which document to look. But at a given point of time, looking at this graph, okay, this graph. So assuming
Correct.
something is happening like this over here, what is it that I need to do? Okay, so I'll go
Okay.
back here and put a query which will go into the SOP and tell me. So give me steps in well spudding. So I need to do some kind of well spudding based on my experience.
Okay.
So it will go
Let's
and
wait
look
for
into
those.
all SOPs and extract this.
Okay.
And here it will use some kind of a foundation model or a GenAI model and
Right.
generate the results. So this is generative AI, wherein you actually look into unstructured data like SOPs, reports,
So
and
any
then
PDF document, basically PDF
PDF
document or
documents.
Word
Yes,
document.
correct, correct.
Right. Right.
So give it a minute. I think this will come up.
Okay.
It's still running. You can see it running.
Yes, sir.
So it has
Interesting.
basically
Okay.
identified this. So if I look at give me steps in well spotting, so it has basically so it has basically picked up ensure mass entering.
Okay. Okay.
So it has pulled it out from the document. So let's do find something else. Say give me five common drilling practices. So it will go and look for these five common drilling practices inside my SOP and give it back to me.
Okay.
Now this can be fine tuned depending on the state of the well.
So what are the
So
models that we are, what are the LLMs that we use for this kind of activities?
so there are multiple platforms available in GenAI. One is obviously your Watson X. Then you have Gemini, Google Gemini. Then you have Microsoft Copilot. So there are different platforms available. There's some open source platforms also available, and within each of them they have multiple LLMs, foundation models. So there will be some text centric LLMs or foundation models, and then
Okay.
there will be some data centric or multimodal which can understand images or graphs and basically interpret those graphs or tabular data and give you
Okay.
insights from that. So there are
Right. Now
different
we,
variety of models available. Now see five common drilling practices. Let's
right.
see.
Yeah, we have the answers on the screen. Yeah.
You got the answers, or these are the five common drilling practices.
All
Old
right.
bridge.
Yes. Okay. So it has picked, actually, there are more. It has picked up only the first five or something, right?
Right. So see, what you can always do is you can also along with this answer. I've not really done it over here in this demo, but what you can do is you can actually highlight the document as well as the page number to
Right.
which you can just mention at the bottom, and then it can just go there and open the document and see the policy. So if he wants something more than that, I think you can always refer that to the document. But it becomes very easy for the person who wants to know what to be done to looking at this and looking at the reference, the page number, the document name. It becomes very easy for him.
Right. Okay.
So this is what I had in a demo over here. Obviously, in this case, because it's a very specialized domain, I have not gone into prescriptive. But in this case, what you see, what GenAI is doing for you is these SOPs are nothing but your prescriptive policies.
Correct. So it is
That
applicable
means
for any other use case or organization also where
exactly
you have policies, you have SOPs, you have documents.
yes. So here, the prescription will not come from any GenAI model because it's a specialized activity. So the prescription will come uh, from an SOP, standard operating procedure. That means if my risk is going beyond 50%, what is it that I need to do? So I need to do some well spudding. In which case, what are the steps in well spudding, which we just saw a couple of minutes back. So these prescriptive guidance may come from an SOP, or it could come from your knowledge management systems. So right now we can integrate this also with our KMS knowledge management systems, and depending on the current state, that answer can be automatically fetched and given. But again, it's
So
it's
I
it's a
asked this
journey.
question to you in the last video also about hallucination. How do you see the
Okay.
hallucination concept in this particular case actually?
uh, Hallucination is here to stay. You can minimize it to a great extent by using the RAG patterns. and this is more predominant when you are using very very large LLMs.
Right. Okay. Okay. So I think that's it, right, sir? No, I think we are good. This was a very unique case study because drilling happens only in certain of the areas, and not every organization this case study will be useful. But this is a very useful case study for organizations who are into drilling, and especially in this in the drastic weather conditions and all of that, they need to look at different parameters. So this kind of a case study will be very crucial when it comes to those kind of scenarios. Now, coming back to generative AI, yes, like you said, the RAG or the summarization, these kind of concepts will be used for the unstructured data where you have organizational policies or different SOPs. So it will be applicable definitely in the manufacturing industry. With they have more SOPs, where they have audits and all of that. So they have a lot of SOPs. So it could be useful there, or probably in the banking sectors where they have a lot of policies or audits that also happens there. So yeah, so there are multiple use case scenarios that we can also kind of talk about. So that's it. I think for from our end, that's it for today. We would come back with one more interesting tech talk in the next session. Thank you, sir. So good.